kind of reading through. I read the whole thing, but I didn't get to spend a ton of time analyzing it like all the videos said you should spend 2 hours reading it and studying it and then another 2 hours doing this and that.
Yeah, who has that time?
I don't know. Unless I was at Harvard, probably not.
Yeah, no.
But
where are the questions at? They're in the financial instructions.
Yeah, I just go to, it's like the third option down for the case. Yeah, Steve Carpenter at Cake Financial Instructions. I'm pretty sure that's what we're supposed to go over. But
did we start the recording yet?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
We are live.
It says we're live.
There we go.
All right, so it asks we should open up with a prayer. Derek, do you want to open up with a prayer and we'll get started?
Sure. All right. Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this opportunity to be able to have this discussion. We ask you to help us to be able to analyze things properly and efficiently and have a good understanding of the case after we're done. We say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. All right, let's dive in. So it says, many of our discussions center on understanding success or making crucial decisions. Today, we are trying to account for failure. To begin the discussion, quickly reconstruct the key elements of the Cake Financial business model.
Okay. I admit that I don't exactly understand everything that was going on as far as what this product is. I have no idea what that's like as far as brokerage and so forth, but I did the best I could to try to internalize it based upon the data that was given in the actual discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's talked about how he started a company where you can, I guess, see your brokerage information. I don't know if that's similar to 401k or mutual funds or whatever.
Yep.
What I understood is it was basically like an online social media platform.
Correct.
With it based around investments.
Yeah.
So I mean, I see the value in that for sure.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Like, I think it's, again, he kind of, like he said, when he was trying to come up with this idea, Facebook was taking off, all these social media sites were really taking off, and he kind of wanted to throw his investment spin in the mix and kind of run with that. But like it says, that part didn't really catch on very much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I had a list of ideas that I had for why it failed, but I'm sure we need to go in order, you know.
Yeah, I think we'll probably get to that. I haven't gone through all the questions, but we'll definitely get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. What was his marketing plan going forward from the beginning?
I think it said that he well, I know that he kind of had like a launch competition he was in to get attention to his product. That was one way, and a lot of people kind of signed up from that. He won, I think, 4th place. I think it was.
Yeah, something like that.
And before then, I can't remember if it said that he advertised or not. But I know because I don't think
he did much. I don't think so. I mean, he said he was planning to do like a small kind of product trial with some people, but then because he entered that contest with that TechCrunch, then he couldn't release a beta version. Like, he just kind of had to launch it without really doing a beta, which I think kind of hurt him, because a beta would have definitely told him where some of the gaps were.
Yeah, where the bugs are and where the pain points in the program platform.
Yeah, I think
and so far in our classes, we keep learning about the idea that you want to communicate with people first before you launch your product. I mean, at least that's the message I'm getting, that you want to get that feedback from people, and you want to start with a small group of people first and so forth. And I kind of get the feeling that perhaps he didn't really do that very well. so that he didn't know. He didn't start catching these problems until later on.
Yeah, and it's like I was just kind of rereading some parts, and it said that they were burning through $300,000 per month and not earning any revenue. Like that's not the time to be trying to tweak stuff. Like you should you should be nailed down at that point.
Without a doubt, without a doubt.
I can't. Some of these things I can't even like fathom the scale of like millions of dollars that you're just like, we have no income, but we're spending millions of dollars making this try to happen.
And a lot of investors who could have potentially been there, they pretty much told him that, hey, we want to see more proof that it's working before we'll give you our money. And I kind of understand that, you know.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he was never able to really produce that proof like he should have. This is my guess.
Yeah, I feel like his idea was pretty sound. Like it's a really good idea. I just don't think he kind of executed it the way he should have in terms of like trying it out on multiple people and multiple groups to trying to see like, okay, is this product actually going to hit the people that I think it will?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just going to hit certain groups that I wasn't planning on, which is kind of what happened.
The biggest thing I saw was this was, I mean, like, what is it, like 10 years ago?
Yeah.
So social media was new. Most of the people that were on social media were mostly younger kids, which would have, could care less about investment and finance and all these things that he was trying to do. So I think it was timing. Like, I think if someone did this now, and I guarantee you there's dozens of people doing this, and probably doing well. It's because we live in an area of an age of social media, and this is, I mean, it's accepted now, isn't? And that time it would have been kind of a little bit weird, different.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, the timing of it all.
Uh-huh.
It also asks what was his cash flow formula, and it looked like a lot of this like technical mumbo jumbo I didn't super understand, but like he laid out his percentages of what he was trying to do. So he said, by year 3, Carpenter projected $82 million of revenue, with 21% from advertising, lead generation, and sponsorship, 43% from premium services, and 36% from data licensing and fund fees. So that's a lot of stuff that I don't understand a whole lot of. But he had a plan. It seemed like a pretty high projection, $82 million in revenue.
Good for him.
It felt close, but it was a nice idea.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, it actually blew my mind to figure out how much PayPal was using in when they were doing their funding. Crazy. I had no idea.
Well, the scale of some of these companies, just to like the financing scale that it takes to start some of these companies, and like, yeah, you hear about them when they kind of gain traction and they get big, but like the years beforehand when they're investing hundreds of millions of dollars to like, they're not making much.
Yeah, and the crazy part too is like, in a lot of these huge like VC funds, they already know that a lot of these tech-based like platforms aren't going to be profitable for the first while. Right. So they go in knowing it's a huge risk for them because, I mean, there's not a lot of companies that go years without being profitable.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would love to start my own business someday, but there's just the thought of like being in debt that much for years. Like, I don't think I could ever sleep at all.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think I could do it. So I'll just work a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life and be happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so after your group has recreated the business model, vote, was Cake doomed from the beginning, or was this a promising business model?
I just kind of think with his actions and his oversights, not seeing things as well as he should have. It's my opinion, it was doomed to the beginning. It was a great idea for sure, but like we talked about, he should have had things fixed before going into it. I think.
Yeah.
He should have got that customer feedback. He should have had the right people in place. My thoughts are the economy probably did not help, but it probably was not enough to be the reason for his failure too. He could have survived it. I think.
I didn't even think of that. That this was during like one of the worst economies we've had in decades.
Yeah, since the Great Depression. So that was happening. He launched this 2008 or 2007?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And the economy crashed in 2008.
Yeah.
Now again, I don't want to blame the economy 100% on that. I just think it probably didn't help. Without a doubt, if he would have planned, and I mean, because there are some businesses out there that I know of that even increased in their ability to be a business during the recession, and so a lot of careful planning is important. But having the right people too, to talk about how he had to let people go, and he's bringing in people later on to try to fix problems and so forth. I think that also has something to say. You want to try to have the right people in place as soon as you can, right? I mean, I know it's not going to be perfect, but still,
Yeah. What came to mind is that like with a number of these cases that we've read so far, it's like they came out with their product too early. Like they got anxious to get this out there in front of people.
Yeah.
And like it just wasn't quite ready. Like when you come out with something like for your very first time, you want to make sure it like blows everybody's minds and exceeds all expectations, because what happened here is that he attracted thousands of people through his TechCrunch success. He did pretty well there, but then the product wasn't user friendly. So those are thousands of people that you're going to lose because it wasn't ready, and you're not going to get them back, even when you make it better.
You damage that reputation, and then there's no coming back.
Yeah,
that's very true.
I'm just curious.
The one thing,
hey, go ahead.
I was going to say the one thing I saw was he kind of jumped the gun with his venture capital firm, and he just took one of the earlier offers, and while doing that, he wanted to use that money to leverage getting a better venture capital deal, and that ended up backfiring on him. So I mean, he could have held out longer and actually got the correct funding that he was originally going for, instead of taking like something small, which he did, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, and the real question is like, how much do you take? Like, how much do you plan that you'll need in funding from like? Because I'm sure he had some sort of budget going forward from the beginning, but it's like PayPal. I mean, I doubt they thought that they would need $100-something million just to get started. No company thinks that way.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much is enough in funding to kind of make it work, or at what point do you just like, okay, and you know what, this is not working.
This is a really hard. I mean, if you were trying to do the projections, like for your finances, to know it, because it's a brand new product, you would have no clue, like to get the data collected to even project that. I mean, good luck. I don't know.
Right. I don't know either. All I know about budgeting is that you just look at the history, and if there's no history, then who knows?
You have to invent some stuff, and hopefully it works.
Right. But I think it's I forgot what I was going to say. Like in terms of getting the right product from the very beginning, I don't know how much like money you have to go through to make sure you have the right product. Like maybe that process takes a couple of years until your product is like 100% ready to go, and that costs millions of dollars. But in the end, it's worth it. Like, sure, you invest a little bit more and you have a little bit more funding from VCs, but like when your product comes out, at least you know it's like, okay, this is ready. It's hitting the right market. It's getting the right people.
Yeah, that's huge.
So yeah, let's see. Unfortunately, I think it was kind of doomed from the beginning. Like you said, it was a good idea, but
He should have
I just don't think he went.
And did more, kind of be a little bit more patient with it.
And then I think with these lessons, he's prepared to try again with something else. I would maybe slow down a little bit, but I think that it'll give him experience for sure, because he sounds like a smart guy, and he has great potential for sure. Right. That's one of my thoughts.
Yeah, it's funny, the experience, like simply the experience that you gain from doing stuff like that. Like, because I had a guy who just moved into my ward who he was part of a startup. Like, he was one of the main guys who did a little startup, and they raised a couple $1 million and ran their business for a couple of years. And he's like, I didn't make any money for like 2 years. Like, my wife was the breadwinner, but like, he's like, the things I learned over those 2 years were ridiculous. Like, just the way that things work in terms of running a business and financing and marketing and all that stuff. And because of that experience, even though like he wasn't part of a successful business, because it eventually kind of just like petered out, but he got hired by Google.
Wow.
So that's a good move. No, I just can't imagine like going millions of dollars in debt just to get experience.
No, not worth it. So there was one part that did we talk about the cash flow formula, like briefly?
Yeah, just briefly.
Do we have to go over that in our other report, our personal?
I don't know. I think, I don't know if there's any specific instructions in terms of that report.
Okay. All right. See, I didn't see anything on it.
I didn't see any like super financials.
It was just that one that we already read where it kind of broke down his revenue makeup. All right. So we're on the second point of number 4.
Yeah. So we kind of agreed that they were doomed from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So we can go on to number 5. Discuss Stephen's approach to the opportunity. Try to understand what, if anything, Stephen could have done differently that may have produced a better outcome. On page 3, Stephen says, in retrospect, I'm not sure that these early focus groups were very helpful. They validated our high-level concept, but did not seek feedback on a specific product. I've learned that focus groups for technical products can be unreliable because people can't always say what they want until they can actually see it and play around with it. We would have learned more by building a lightweight product and watching how investors used it. We also didn't get much sense of users' segmentation from our early focus groups. Later, we learned that there are important but subtle differences between active investors who track their portfolios daily and mainstream investors who pay less attention. So what could he have done in that kind of regard to have a better outcome?
He could have diversified his product line. So he could have had a product or a platform that's more for the advanced investor. I mean, it's true. I mean, because I've done a little bit of that kind of thing, and it's with the advanced guys. It's way over like the average person's head. Like a normal investor they'll buy some stocks and kind of leave it, but these guys that do they'll do it as a job. Like they need a lot more on tools, I guess.
There's one thing I remember in the article that you mentioned about spending too much time on the back end of the system instead of the front end, which if I understand that correctly, he was referring to user-friendly type of platform to work on, as well as the website itself, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
So more back end instead of front end stuff, where they even compared it to another company called Mint on there, which I guess did the reverse, So, and I guess they had better results and so forth. They were the ones that actually won the competition. So,
yeah,
I don't know what all that means as far as back end and front end, but it just tells me that he wasn't balanced on his approach. So,
yeah, I mean, I used Mint.com for a while. and it was super easy to use. Like you kind of hook up. I didn't use it for any kind of investing stuff, but I just hooked up my bank accounts to it, and it would categorize everything I spent into like, it's pretty much just a home budget of like, this is how much you spent in gas and the groceries and home and repair and automotive stuff. Like it just broke everything into categories, and it was really like super user friendly, and I could see the appeal of something like that. Whereas like, especially, I mean, even back then, but more especially today, like user friendly is the most important thing.
Yeah.
If it's not like super clean and easy to use, even though it's like got a good back end, then it's tough.
It's very tough. Yeah, without a doubt.
So, as far as the first point, what they could have done to have a better outcome is maybe go into the focus group with looking more specific what they want. Yeah. And then also too, I mean, he says in retrospect, he said they weren't very helpful. So knowing that, he shouldn't have launched. They should have went to somewhere, maybe had someone that has more expertise in the area, but like really try to hone in on the product and what consumers want instead of just kind of jumping right into it. Right.
Those focus groups should be like the main tell of like, this is the people who are going to use my product. Like I don't see how focus groups could be unhelpful. Like they should really help no matter what you get.
Especially in something like this, because I mean it needs to be user friendly. If it's not, then it won't work.
Yeah. Like you said, we would have learned more by building a lightweight product and watching how investors used it, which is true. Like if they had just kind of done a quick beta of their product, then they could have figured out, okay, like what age groups are using our product? What are they using it for? Are they like day traders? Or are they just like plugging in their investments and watching them? And then they could adjust their strategy from there.
Yeah, I agree. So the next point, I can read it. It says on page 10, Stephen says there is no way I could have learned this up front through interviews or focus groups. There were a lot of precedents pointing to a strong social component, including investment clubs and active communities on sites like Raging Bull. So, I mean, he says right there that focus groups didn't matter. He said it would have been helpful either way.
That's okay.
Sorry, my wife just popped in. All right. Like he said, I agree that everything was pointing to strong social components. Like that's what was really picking up at that time, is all the social media stuff. And there were probably websites that were like doing really well with the social media in terms of investing stuff. But like, again, he needed to have a beta to see if his specific product was going to do really well with social media or not.
Yeah, it was a great idea. I'm just kind of summarizing. It was a really good idea. You just would have implemented it better, especially with the idea with social media. It's a great timing too. I think it's just a shame that it wasn't able to get some of the other components correct.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, like, especially investments. Like, I feel like those people who would be willing to share their like investment stuff through social media are only people who kind of like are very active investors. Like I have some like really small, like I use Acorns as like some random little investments. Like it rounds up all my spending and invests whatever's left over. But like I wouldn't be sharing all this information through social media. Like I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, because you don't have the confidence in it, so you don't want to put that out for the world to see. I mean, I agree with that. I have investments I probably wouldn't want to show anyone either.
So let's see. The last bullet point, as a group, can you come up with a list of ways Steven's approach is different from Rent the Runaway, Dropbox, and Mint? How do you know which assumption to test first? Was building the data layer first the right approach?
Well, I will say this about Rent the Runaway. It seemed like those ladies did a pretty good job at actually having adaptation. I know we talked about wanting to not have to fix things in the process. I don't think that's possible that you'll have things be perfect.
Right.
And then you kind of start out. So there is something to be said about that. I think with him, though, it was just constant scrambling, it seemed like. And I think that's a huge difference between them and the Rent the Runaway girls. They did find a way to deal with change and reality and so forth. So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like we talked about, the Rent the Runaway website wasn't quite ready before they launched. Like that was the last thing that they did. But at least when they launched, it was like 100% ready to go.
Yeah.
And they knew it was going to work.
Plus their idea was solid too.
Yeah, exactly. I think Steven's approach was good. I mean, he came at it from a very like business perspective, and he had plans for the majority of things, but like he had plans, but none of them were really validated. Like during the Rent the Runaway, we talked about making sure that it was validated. And I don't think he quite had that yet. Like his plan specifically wasn't validated, but if he did all this testing stuff and could mold his plan to make it validated, then it probably would have ran better.
Yeah. Agree with that.
So what is building the data layer the right approach? I don't know what it's referring to.
The data layer was like kind of like what Jimmy was mentioning, the back end of the website. Like they kind of put aside the front end or like the user interface to make sure that they had the back end and like all the data and all the formulas and the coding, they had that ready first. I personally think that's the right decision. Like you could have a really pretty looking user interface, but if it doesn't work, then what's the point?
Well, it's like look at a website like Wikipedia.
Oh,
like yeah, and like it has all the info, but it's just kind of bare bones. So it is data. But yeah, it's lacking other things. Right. So the data is important with other things. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the data was important to have first, just to make sure it all worked. But then you needed to couple that with a really good user interface. So you can't have either or. It has to be both.
So yeah, I mean, we all agree. I think we would have done the data thing first as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
And then, so we're pretty much on the last question.
Okay.
It says identify the main reason for Kick's failure. So I mean, there's a lot of things we've kind of highlighted a few of them. But it says, was the failure just beyond Steven's control? I mean, there were external factors. I think the number one being when you're in a recession and the economy's not doing very well, people aren't investing. It's just,
right.
They're not going to be investing. There's always going to be those people that do, but the overall normal person will not have extra money to throw into investments. So
yeah.
That's external, has nothing to do with him.
And again, I think he would have found out pretty quickly if he had done more like product trial and testing. He would have found out that his idea would hit active investors a lot more, and they would probably be investing more during a recession than just like the passive person who's like, I have extra money, like I need to invest it. Like people didn't have that during the recession. But his product was really good for the active people. and they were
Yeah, it
probably
was.
still investing.
And one thing too is in this, when you have a group, there people are really, really passionate about their investments, and they're extremely like fanatical about it.
Mhm.
So when you have that in a social setting, you're able to like collaborate, and the people will use that for sure.
Right.
And then I guess the last one, it says, what low-cost experiment could Stephen have done to test the assumptions behind the main reason for failure? What do you guys think?
What's the low-cost method you could use to experiment why it failed?
He did the what was it called? The focus group.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think a beta, well, launching a beta, I don't think is very low cost either.
No.
Well, yeah, I mean, perhaps it would have helped if, because I know another class we're learning about a concept called early evangelists, whatever, you know, maybe taking a small group and testing that out first.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have helped the situation. That's just one of the thoughts I have.
You could have, one thing, a lot of companies do this. Companies like Qualtrics, they basically collect data, like marketing data.
Yeah.
You could have paid a third party, or even done it in-house, to basically collect data on like preferences of people and when their investments, and just like overall preferences. And I don't think that would have been that much.
Right.
It would have helped them just to have just a little bit of data to kind of base his platform on, kind of help him figure out what to do.
No, I totally agree. I mean, because from whatever customers he still had left, if he had just kind of found out why they were still there, what they liked about the product, and what they thought could have been better, he probably would have found a ton of useful information. And again, he probably could have found out, okay, this is why my business isn't doing so well.
Yeah, that's huge.
I mean, especially if it sounds like he's probably going to, I mean, entrepreneurs, even if they fail, like we talked about, they're probably going to try to start another business because they've learned.
It's in their blood.
Yeah, it is in their blood. People just like making deals and yeah, that's cool.
But that's the thing. It's important for you to figure out, like, I really like that question, because it is important for you to find out, like, why did I fail this time so that I never do it again? Because you could be like, oh crap, my company failed. I don't know why, but let's try another one. You could do the same mistake.
No, yeah, you need to ask yourself why and then fix that so you don't repeat it. So
yeah. So it's kind of interesting to read about somebody whose business didn't take off.
And this was a huge money hole for them. I mean, it's not like there was just like a little small thing. Like there's a lot.
Right.
Hopefully the sale of the company was enough that it covered their expenses and their loss. That's why.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happened or not, but I hope so.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but like, are some things like this, are these considered corporations? Because like I remember for all like business law classes, like you've got your sole proprietorship and your partnership, which like if you create those, then you have full liability for any like expenses.
Oh, that's right. Because my guess is probably a corporation because of all the outside help, but
it would have to be.
Yeah, it didn't really specify.
Like I can't imagine. Yeah, there's no way he could do that. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's a lot of liability.
You gotta have some. You gotta be pretty confident.
Sure, if I was liable for all that, I would probably run away to North Korea or something.
Yeah, millions of dollars lost. No chance.
Problems over there, right?
That's right.
No, there's no problems. It's a utopia.
Yeah. Oh,
all right, cool.
Well, I was going to ask you guys, there's a part at the beginning, and I don't get this. It says you need to provide a timestamp in addition to your link. What What is
Well,
that?
what that means is, I think, is the actual minute where we start talking about the case is when they want us to put that time. Like, did we start talking at 2 minutes and 5 seconds or whatever, you know? So that way they can fast forward to it, right? And so, like, for example, if we come on and we shoot the breeze for 3 minutes or whatever, they're not going to want to listen to that, I guess. They're going to want to just, because they have to grade it, they're going to want to just cut the chase.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'll when I open it, I'll see how. I kind of feel like we dove pretty quickly into it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
So I'll look at it after I stop the recording, and then we'll see what it looks like from there.
You'll send the URL out to our emails.
Yeah, I'll email it to you guys.
Cool.
I'll stop the recording.